Good morning, gorgeous humans. Hello. Happy Wednesday. How are you feeling? Welcome to the morning show. I'm your host, Marli Ansel, at Marli Ansel on the Instagrams. Okay, today we are talking about this one mindset trick that can literally change everything. I don't know about you, but I love these little mindset shifts that can quite literally put us in an entirely different state of being. And I am completely fascinated with how the subconscious mind works, how we can get in there and rewire it so that we naturally start moving towards success, freedom, abundance, being our best selves. And I'm going to share with you today this one mindset trick that works every single time. It is going to blow your mind. You're absolutely going to love it. And I'm so excited to share it with you. Okay, before we dive in though, what I have to tell you is that my 6-month training program, The Spiritual Coach, is open for enrollment officially. It is officially open for enrollment. We begin in January 2025, but right now we have opened for early enrollment and there are some incredible bonuses. This is the program where I teach you how to coach your clients through mindset and energetic work. It is absolutely phenomenal. I cannot say enough good things about this program. So if you're interested in that, all of the details are available now. But before we do, let's dive into our subject today. I've got this very unruly curl happening here. Let's dive into what we're talking about today. So here's what I want you to think about. Most people are programmed to look for what's wrong, right? Most people were seeking out problems. We're seeking out, what do I need to prevent? What disaster scenario could happen? What is wrong? What is it that isn't working? Most people, this is the way that we're programmed. And it's not your fault. It is because our mind, our subconscious, is programmed to survive longer. What do I need to be on the lookout for? What do I need to create efficiencies in so that I can survive? But the issue is that most of the time our definition of surviving has kind of morphed from actual physical survival to social survival to emotional survival. And so what happens is that we end up preventing ourselves from seeing the opportunity that's right in front of us because we're so fixated and focused on what is going wrong. So I'm going to show it to you right now. If you had your everyday life, just think about, you're going to your job, you are, we'll say you're just like checking the boxes, married, 2.5 kids, got a fence around the yard, like that whole typical life. When you wake up in the morning, what's your first thought? Is your first thought like, oh my gosh, the opportunity that's in front of me today, I'm so excited, anything could happen? Probably not, right? Usually the first thing you think when you wake up is like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh, this is going to be terrible, right? And it might not even be in words, but it's that default subconscious programming. Then you go and you get your coffee and you get a little boost and you're like, okay, life is good. We're doing great. And then you spill your coffee and you're like, oh my God, just one of those days. And then you get yourself back together. You get into the car, you hit traffic. You get to work, you're late, boss is upset, you've got a meeting in 5 minutes, but you see the domino effect here. Okay. So, what we want to do is to realize that life is going to life. Okay. Things are going to happen. We can't do anything about that. But what we can do is start to shift our mindset to see the opportunity in things that are happening rather than what's wrong. Now, again, we are hardwired, programmed to look for what's wrong, to look for the things that have that we need to fix, that we need to prevent, that we are like, oh my gosh, there it is again. We're hardwired to look for that. So if we want to start seeing success and opportunity and the most beautiful things in our lives, we have to consciously start rewiring our subconscious default program to start looking for the opportunity that's right in front of us. Okay. So most people aren't going to do this. I'm going to tell you right now. Most people are going to say something along the lines of, like, well, that's easy for you to say. And they'll make up some story about me and my life. Or, well, that's easy for some people, but this is the problem I'm dealing with. And they will make themselves separate from how our minds actually work and say, for some reason, somehow my mind's different. I'm going to tell you right now, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, no matter what neurodivergence you feel you have, the subconscious mind works the same. It works the same for everyone. So, what we want to start looking at is, how do I start to reprogram this default setting that I have going on to open up my mind and my eyes to be able to see the opportunity that's right in front of me? Okay. So we're talking mind, and we're talking more of that like programming that we see. But in actuality, there is an infinite number of opportunities right in front of us all the time. All the time. I know. The mind is going off right now like, no, it's not. No, it's not. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're not seeing it because you've been in that program of no, it's not. I promise you it's there. Everything is there. Because as the moment that we are asking for something new, for something different, which by the way, you're doing all the time, because every time you say, I don't like that, there's a part of you that's asking for something new, something different, something better. Every time you say, my life is terrible, there's a part of you that's asking for a better life. So the moment that you ask, it is given. It is the moment that you decide, I'm going to start looking this way towards what it is that I want to create. That's when you're going to start seeing something differently. Okay, so here, I'm going to give you this trick. So, and it's entirely free and it will change your life, but it is up to you to actually start doing this. When you start thinking about what's happening in front of your life, okay? So, as I said before, you've got things that are going on, you've got things that are happening. And there's a part of you that's asking for the positive. There's a part of you that's like, but I want this. But it doesn't get to live because there's such a strong part of your mind that goes, but that's not possible. And it happens so quickly that you don't even realize it half the time. So every time that you say you don't like something, there's a part of you asking for something you like. Every time you say that your life is blah, 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 there's a part of you saying, I would really love a life that's this. So we shut it down so quickly that we don't even realize that we're actively choosing the negative side of life. So we want to slow that down. And the moment that you catch yourself looking around at your life and looking for what's wrong and disaster scenario planning and deciding before you ever even have an opportunity to do something different that your life is just this and you have to fix these before when you do that, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause and I want you to ask yourself, but if that wasn't true, then what? We're giving you 2 tricks today. If that wasn't true, then what? Now, it's really going to mess with your mind in the moment because you've been, again, hardwired to look for what's wrong. And it's going to kind of feel like a confusion. It's going to feel like like you're trying to shift this over, but it's going to be like, oh, it's going to feel hard to shift that highway over in the beginning, but stick with it. If that wasn't true, then what? And do you see how you can feel that energy right there, right away? Because your mind, your deep subconscious knows that there is another scenario. There's another opportunity for something else to be true, but you've been so fixated on what's wrong, what you need to prevent, what you need to fix. This feels like it's the only life that exists, but it's not. So if that wasn't true for you, then what? We're just starting to loosen up the brain here. We're just starting to like break it down a little bit. If that wasn't true, then what? Okay. So once you get yourself to kind of get over here, to stop looking for what's wrong and to start asking yourself, if there was an opportunity right in front of me, what could that look like? What would that be? Then you're going to start to get a little more honed in on what you do actually want. Now, this is so fascinating to me, but most people have no idea what they want. I mean, And it is because we're so fixated on what we don't want. But what's cool about this is that if you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. You just got to start looking to the other side of the stick. So if I know that I don't like cold, then I can kind of look to be like, oh, well, I prefer warm weather. Okay, right? But if I'm so fixated on, I don't like the cold, I don't like the cold, I don't like the cold, and I say, well, what do you want? I want to not be cold. What you actually want is I want to be warm. I want to be in the tropics. I want to be on the beach. I want to be like feeling that warm breeze that feels like pure magic, right? Most people don't know what they want only because they've been so fixated on what they do not want for their life. It's like everything that you want is over here, but you're standing here turned this way with your back to what you don't want. So when this happens, you quite literally have created an illusion of reality that says, this is my life and this is all that exists. And it's not true. It is only because this is the direction that you've been putting all of your energy and your focus. So if you start to say, what if there was a different way of seeing this? What if there was a different opportunity for me? What if this is not actually true? It's like you're starting to turn and change your point of view. And as you start to change your point of view, you turn away from everything you don't want, what you've been trying to fix, prevent, run away from, get rid of. I've got to like fix this to make it better. You're turning away from that and you're turning towards what you do actually want. So you've got to start asking yourself, what do I want? And you've got to listen to your own language. This is that self awareness piece. You've got to listen to your own language. If you catch yourself saying, okay, what do I want? I don't like, I want to be not this. You're going to laugh at yourself because this is verbatim what happens in almost every coaching session when I ask this question. I want to not be da 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 da. Okay, but what do you want? But what do you want? Okay, so now what we've got to look at is once you decide what you want, there's 3 steps here. I love how this stuff unfolds because I come to the table with one big trick, which I haven't even given to you yet, but then we end up turning it into a map, don't we? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay. Once you are clear on what you want, your brain is going to go into overdrive saying that's not possible. We know this, right? We know this. It's going to go into overdrive and it's going to be really specific. It's going to say, okay, no, it's possible, just not for you. It's just not possible for you. And it's going to give you all of these reasons why. Okay. This is where you've got to be very steadfast in your pursuance of what it is that you actually want your life to be. You cannot fall victim to this voice in your head. So here in this moment, when that voice in your head says that's not going to work, it's not going to work. What I want you to notice what happens is it just shuts it down, right? It just shuts it down. So it's like you've been looking this way, you're starting to turn this way, and then the voice in your head says, but that's not going to work for you anyway, so don't even go there. And it shuts it down before you can ever get to that full-fledged of what you do want and seeing the opportunity that's right in front of you. And it has you turn right back this way to what you don't want. Okay. So here's what you're going to do. The moment that that voice pops up in your head and it says, but it's not possible for you. Like everybody else can do that, sure, but you're different. You're special in a terrible way, right? Like it's not possible for you. Once you're clear on what you want and that voice pops up, here's what I want you to do. And this is the trick that works every single time. But if it did work, if it was possible for me, then what would I do? Did everyone just feel it? Do you feel it open up? But if it was possible for me to start that business and to have a 6-figure year my first year, to become a multimillionaire in the next years, doing work that serves people, that makes me feel so good and I feel like I'm making a great impact in the world. If that was possible for me, then what would I do? Do you see how it opens up? It's like your brain now starts to shift out of that old world. It's like the old world is dead. Now we're shifting into the new world. Now we're shifting into the, oh, but if it did work, wait, if it was possible for me, well, what would I do? And what you're going to be really fascinated by is that you're going to receive an answer and you're going to get exactly what you would do. It's right there for you. The opportunity was right in front of your face the whole time, but because you were mentally shutting it down, you were not able to receive it. The moment that you start opening up to receive it, you're gonna get an answer. So I want everyone to do this. Every single time that you hit that point of frustration where you're just focusing on what you don't like and what you don't want, what you think you need to fix and blah 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 and all of that stuff, you got to start out saying, but what if that wasn't true? What if that actually isn't my truth? What if everything going wrong, what if your problems that you think are just you have to fix to move forward from, everything that you think you lack, what if that actually isn't my truth? What if that isn't true for me? Like, what if that isn't true? And we're just loosening up the brain there. And then you're going to go to, what do I want? Check your language, because you're going to catch yourself saying, I don't want this. What I want is to not be this, right? We talk about, like, everybody thinks that money will solve their whole lives, and money is great and that's fine, but there's a there's a mindset there that's entirely separate from money, but we'll go with it. I want to make $1 million, right? Okay, so I don't want to not have money. Right? It's like, what do you want? Well, I don't want to be, worrying about money. Okay, but what do you want? Do you feel me? What do you want? Okay, well, I want to be in a place where every time I think about my life and money, it just feels like freedom. It feels like overflow. It feels like the most beautiful experience of life. Oh, okay. Well, what would give you the most beautiful experience of life? Well, I feel like if I could, I have this idea for this business that I really want to do, but it's not for me. Oh, okay. Well, if it was for you, then what would you do? Well, I would da 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 da. And you'll find yourself answering your questions in a way that you've never done it before, but it was always right there for you. Okay. So, step one, when you're fixating and focusing on everything that's going wrong, you got to start loosening your grip on that need to focus on what's wrong, what's lacking, what's need to be fixed. You got to start saying, what if this actually wasn't true for me? What if this problem isn't actually a problem? What if I'm not actually lacking in this? What if I don't actually need to fix this? Start loosening that grip that your brain has on, like, what I need to fix, what's wrong. And then you got to ask yourself, what do I actually want? Catch your language. If you start saying, I don't want, you got to start asking yourself, but what do I want? And then the moment that you get clear on what you do want, your brain is going to say, but that's not possible for you. Other people, yes, but not you. And in that moment, you've got to say, but if it was possible for me, what would I do? So we're just circumventing the hardwire programming of the survival mind. Do you feel me on this? Everybody has a survival mind. This is not something that you're just born with or not born with. Everyone has the survival mind because it's part of how we keep surviving, right? But the problem is that our society has evolved so much that we're no longer trying to survive physically, we're trying to survive emotionally. We're trying to survive energetically. We're trying to survive mentally, socially. And so our brain is now interpreting things that are not actually dangerous to us as pure danger, and it shuts us down and it stops us from creating success. So we're circumventing the survival mind so that we can get into that lane where everything that you want is, and you actually have the step by step manual of what to do. You've just been shutting it off. Does this make sense? Click, click. If everyone got this today, like, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Now, it's going to open it up for you. And then what? Then there's, like, the bravery part that comes in, right? It's like, oh my God, now I know what to do. I have no excuses, right? I have no excuses to not go after my success. I have no excuses to stay fixated and focusing on what's wrong. I know exactly what I want and I know exactly what to do. What gets in the way there? It's just fear. It's emotional healing. It's the parts of us that's scared to be seen. This is where we get into that healing aspect. And it's easy to do. It really, really is. We can shift that energy out. We can start to move those parts of the brain that feel like being seen is scary, being seen is bad. We can start to do that healing work. And as you do that healing work, it's just like freeing yourself of these chains. And so it's this beautiful like seesaw effect because now you know what to do. Now you know the steps to take towards what you want. As you take those steps, it's going to surface up to you the parts of you that need to heal, the parts of you that have been holding you back. It's not a bad thing. This is where you start to do that work. This is the work we do inside the spiritual coach training program, inside my other programs. We start to do that inner work that starts to free you into the actual version of you that you really, really are. It's so funny because a lot of us feel like the scared, the insecure, the I have no confidence version. A lot of people think that's who they actually are. It's not. It's not. These are just layers that we have on top of us. The truth of who you are is I'm infinite. I'm confident. I know exactly what I want. I'm a creator. I got the power to create worlds. In fact, I'm doing it right now. I'm just not conscious of it. Once you start to become conscious of how you're creating your reality, it will be scary how precise you are able to see that you're creating your reality because you're doing it all the time. You're creating your experience. It's reflected back to you with precision. I can't tell you how many times that I like have these moments of just pure awareness where I'm like, oh my God, I did that. That is reflecting back to me everything that I'm thinking, I'm believing, and that I'm feeling about that situation. Like that's if you get honest with yourself, verbatim what I was thinking and believing about it. And then boom, right there it is. But it's so precise. It's like, it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. But most of us are not operating at that like level of awareness. Most of us are operating at but I don't want it. And that is the like surface level. You're not getting anywhere with that. You've got to get down into the depths. You've got to get into the subconscious and start rewiring it. Because once you can do that, number one, that's a good use of your conscious mind. You're using your conscious mind to try to like fix problems and solve things and focus on what you don't want is a waste of your power. It does nothing for you. What we want to do is use the conscious mind to get aware of the subconscious programming and get in there and start rewiring it so that your natural state of being is to look for opportunity. Your natural state of being is like, this can work for me. Let me figure out how to do it. That's our goal. And once we start wiring that differently, well, then you're going to have a natural way of being that is success, opportunity, freedom, abundance, open flow. But we've got to get in there and do it. And so long as you're focused on what needs to be fixed and what the problem is and something's wrong with you and blah, 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 and all of that stuff, you're just going to stay in that lane. You got to start switching up the lane. And then we start walking that path. You're going to have things surface that you didn't even know were in you. You didn't know you had a fear of being seen. You didn't know you had a fear of money. You didn't know that you had a fear of like, well, if I step out and I actually am my whole full self, what if I lose every single person I love? You didn't know you had that in you. That stuff isn't true, but you might have it in your system. And so that's when that healing work comes in. We start to rewire that as well. Okay. Click, click. Okay. So if you're interested in doing this work, the Spiritual Coach Training Program is the program that teaches you how to do it. It teaches you how to coach your clients through it, and you're going to learn how to do it for yourself. This work is phenomenal. It's literally like the magic, but it's just the way that we're programmed. It's just the way that we are made up. And once we start to really understand how our subconscious works with our conscious, how our emotional and energetic healing all function together to create our manifested reality, once we understand those mechanisms, now you can start doing the work to rewire the mind, to do the energetic healing, and to start taking action in a different way, which is going to manifest a different level of reality for you. It's all been within your power the whole time. It's just we've got to get conscious of it. And once you get conscious of it and you start understanding how these things work, now you're the one who's at the helm. You're the one in the driver's seat. And we're not blaming the world. We're not blaming our mother. We're not blaming, our boss or our job or the economy or whatever. All of that does not affect you and how you can begin to operate your life to create opportunity. If it was ultimately true, everyone would have the exact same life, but it's not. Everyone is wired differently. And there's some people who are taking control of it and saying, I am going to ensure that I'm wired towards success. And there's some people who are just blaming everything and not doing anything about it and then wondering why they're living the same looping reality. Click, click. I love you guys so much. If you're interested in that program, you can message me directly. There will be information for it in the show notes below or in the link in my bio on Instagram. We are starting January 2025. Early enrollment is open now, and there are some really phenomenal bonuses that will get you started in this work right away. So I love you guys so much. I will see you back here Friday for another episode of The Morning Show. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Goodbye, my loves.